going to be caught up in here. So let me see. Hold on. Danny, let me send you. I'm just going to pull up our agenda here. Give me just a sec. There we go. Dan, I just forwarded you the agenda. I know Jen couldn't be on the call today, and obviously there's a few others who couldn't be on the call. If we could just do a little bit of a roll call, that'd be helpful. Misty, I know you're here, so we'll start with you.
Felipe from Region 2 is here, and Zach won't be joining.
Okay, so Zach's not, okay, thanks. Region 1? No? Okay. I know Misty's here from Region 3. We've got Region 2 covered. 4 East?
Hi, this is Jamie Sinkson, and Nate won't be able to make it today.
Thanks, Jamie. 4 West?
Yep, I'm here, and Vince can't make it today.
Whew.
Amy from 4 West.
Thanks, Amy. Region 5, I know there's been some changes with Region 5, but I don't know if Sarah's on the call. Doesn't sound like it. So for Region 5, there has been a bit of a transition. Jess Takala is no longer, chose to step down from her role as the region co-coordinator. But they have they've replaced that person, replaced Jess with Jeff, whose last name is escaping me, Rosenberry, and he is executive director of student involvement at Central Washington University. And Jeff and I had a call just to kind of orient him to this group and the KC co-coordinator role. We had that call last week. I've invited him to the group or to our calls, but he had, because he joined rather late, obviously he had a previous engagement, so he's not able to join us today. But Region 6? No? Okay. Well, I talked to Candy this morning about something else, so I will just pull all of that. I don't hear Clint or Sabrina on the call, so. Okay, sorry, just taking notes here. So again, so we've got nobody from Region 1, Felipe, Misty, Jamie, and Amy on the call. Okay, am I missing anybody? Great. So if we can just go for regional updates. Felipe, we'll start with you since nobody's here from Region 1.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So again, Zach won't be able to join us, but that's okay. We just had our September call. So just so you all know, for our region, we meet on the third Thursday of every month. So we met with our leads on September 26th. A lot of discussion between the regional board and us in KC about communications and social media. So we have a new person, Ross, who's on our advisory board, and he's developed some regional communications policies and then also some processes for putting together regional emails and social media requests. So we share that with our group, and they are all excited. For the most part, I'll try to do like a high level. For the most part, most representatives were working either on nominations or on goals and strategic plan for most of the KCs. Unfortunately, we've had a couple of people leave the KC position, so we're currently looking at, I just looked at this, so give me 1 second. 10 open positions for different KCs, and we've been in communication with the national reps to see if they can get it posted back on Volunteer Central or try to help us determine who those folks can join. And then we're also going to be promoting them at our careers and student affairs coming up on October 25th at our various locations. So hopefully we'll garner some interest there, and then working with the 2020 regional conference folks to incorporate pre-conference educational programs and sponsored lunches for the regional conference. And I think that's pretty much it for now.
Thanks, Felipe. That sounds really good. I like what you were talking about in terms of communications and social media and stuff. We had I don't know if you remember, we had at our KC leader call, we had the Latinx Casey talk about the social media that they've done to promote awards. So it's really good to hear how folks are using communications and standardizing that and promoting good use of it. So we might steal that from you. Well, not steal, but ask you to speak to that. That's so much. Misty, what's happening in the southeast, except for it being incredibly hot?
So we had, I don't meet with them every month. I strategically said, when do I need to meet with the representatives in terms of when things are due and whatnot. So we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. There were a handful of people, but they were there nonetheless to kind of sharing just little updates along the way, asking questions. We currently have 7 open spots. I know one of them, I just received an email today saying, hey, we have someone to interview. So that's good. Maybe we'll be down to 6 pretty soon. The social media aspect I'm really excited about. I think I told you all last time that we changed the way that they submit social media requests, and that has been very helpful. And I send out now a weekly email that says, hey, don't forget, it's your week, because I've divided them all, like every week there's like 7 or 8 people that are supposed to submit something. And so I've been sending out those reminders, and they actually are submitting things. Now, I'm not saying all of them do, but it has been based on the past and comparing to the past, we are definitely much higher level of participation. I'm sure some people hate seeing that email once a month, but I know others are like, oh, thank you, because I get lost in my daily job and I forget that I really need to do that to communicate with the constituents in the area. So very excited about the change in process, and because it adds a little bit of accountability for our communication chair, because sometimes things weren't getting posted, and but they are now, so that's good. And then people are actually submitting, so excited about that. And just working with a couple of the KCs in terms of posting positions and filling them and whatnot. So I think I told y'all that at the last meeting, a couple of days later, I was going to be meeting with one of the KCs because I wanted to kind of understand everything. So it was a good meeting so they can kind of understand how each region has their own process to select regional representatives. And Stephanie was on that call as well, just trying to have them look at it from the national perspective as well as the regional perspective of how they go about filling those positions. So even if they don't listen at the NASPA conference, at least they're asking the questions afterward to create a smooth process for all of us.
Very good.
Much.
Awesome. Good to hear. Thank you. Thank you. Jamie, what's happening for East?
Well, we're ramping up and getting excited for our regional conference, which is going to be November 3rd through 5th in Des Moines, Iowa. We're excited because we're rallying the KCs to hold community dinners, and then we're going to hold an open one too for any of those that are too small to have enough to go to dinner, where we'll just invite all KCs to come out to dinner and we'll have a good time with them. We also were really excited because we were able to, through the new professionals and graduate students, offer 4 graduate students access grants to attend the conference. So we're really excited to have 4 new professionals, possibly maybe in the field for the first time, and find NASPA exciting and fun. So that was really neat that we were able to facilitate that and mobilize that. And want to thank Joseph Ballard, who's over the new professionals and graduate students, for the hard work he had done for that. We're also trying to get a critical mass to talk about the strategic plan and what does it mean for the KC. So we're still moving through that and have much more to do, and are trying to fill some open positions. And off the top of my head, we had a few possibilities, so I'm not quite sure what our numbers are, but I think we too need to get out and beat the bushes to try to find those to fill some of these positions. I think one of the interesting things that we find ourselves in is having on a Canadian province as part of our region, and how do we better engage our Canadian members is I think something that we're struggling with, because it seems to be a little bit of a an isolation because of, unfortunately, a border. I think to Gloria Anzaldua's work on borders and how they can limit, and I think what we're seeing is that we need to be more intentional about reaching out into that area. And I think there's much to offer from our Canadian counterparts, especially for those that are really doing some great work in social justice and in indigeneity. So that's some of our goals, to bridge that in our region, to be a little more intentional and to grow that I guess we consider international component. Besides that, we're just rolling along and trying to our next phone call is Tuesday, so we're excited to hear what the updates are going to be on Tuesday.
Cool. Thanks, Jamie. That's helpful. And that was the new professionals and graduate students, Casey, who worked on the Access grants?
Yes.
That's great. Awesome. That's good for those of you. I know there are probably other regions who are doing regional conferences or thinking about ways to provide opportunity for people to attend, and it's a good way to connect the KCs, especially if it's connected to their mission. They also love the community dinners concept. So that's really good. That's a good idea. I like that. Amy, what's happening in your region?
Yep, similar to Jamie and for East, our conference is just a few days before that. It's October 28th through 30th in Fargo, North Dakota. And I think just locationally is what I can gather, as we're a little low on registrations. Don't know if it's because of location, timing. It was first advertised as ending on Halloween. And so I think that was a deterrent. And so we changed it to ending on the 30th instead, but still, who knows? Also that the national conference is close to our region in Texas this year. So who knows? We are working. I really like the idea of the community dinners, and we've had some conversations with our KC reps that they want. So what we do in For West is we have one of the program sessions is entirely dedicated to KC mini presentations, and so all rooms are filled with, we break them up. There's like 6 KCs in each room, and they do a little presentation, sign up sheet if you're interested, that kind of thing. And one thing they were talking about is wanting more intentional meetup times. And I think what we're just running into is the timing of everything else that happens at the conference. And so I love the idea of the meetups at dinner, but the first open dinner is the second night of the conference, and then it ends the next day. And so we suggested that, but then they were like, no, we want an earlier time where people meet up so that they can see each other throughout the conference and then know, oh, we have similar roles, or they want to know each other way earlier. And so I think if anyone has any suggestions or anything, because the KC mini presentations don't happen until the second day, and then our KC trivia night doesn't happen until the second night, and then the conference ends the next day. So it's a lot of timing. I don't know if anybody else runs into that or I love the idea of the community dinners. So if anybody has any suggestions.
This is Felipe. I can share. So when Zach and I did the conference in New York City, we generally do our regional conference in June, and we hosted ours in New York City last year. What we did was work with the KCs. This was before we were actually KC coordinators, and we worked with the KCs to get them to sign up to host a KC lunch hour because the lunches in New York City are always on your own. And we ended up getting about 10 of them to participate, and they coordinated everything with the groups, made their own reservations. And some of them thought that it went really well. Others that had lower participation kind of doubled up, and then they went to lunch. And then another thing that we're considering for the regional conference this year, or next year rather, in June 2020 in Niagara Falls, is the lunch is included. All the lunches are included on site, but we're working with the conference chairs to host a KC sponsor lunch. So then the tables would be set up around the KCs, and we're getting our KC leads to tell us now who's going to be there most likely. And then we'll just have open tables for folks that don't want to participate in like the themed conversation. So those are just quick ideas.
I like that. I like that themed conversation idea.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Felipe. That's really helpful. And I mean, again, whether it's dinner opportunities or small little meetups, I think any time you're offering connections across, across content areas, but and with the KCs at the regional level, I think that just underscores exactly what we would see and hope for KCs at the regional level. I know it can depend. Numbers is really can be a driving issue. Again, if registrations are not where you would hope for them to be with 4 West conference, then that could mean for particular KCs that it's a smaller turnout. So it sounds like what Jamie, what y'all decided was to try and where the numbers are lower, try and pool those together in larger groups or make a bigger group for where numbers are low.
Mm-hmm. Those are good ideas. And if anybody has any, Misty, did you have something? No. The other thing we're working on is who's returning. So our regional director's term is up in March, and so I'm already making that list. And we do have a handful, I would say, that say they're coming back, but we do actually have a lot of I was going to say older, but they're not older, but reps that have been reps for a while. And so I think it's been exciting because I asked them to email me like privately and say if they're returning and if not, why. And I'm getting a lot of like they would like to take other positions. Some are on conference planning, committee planning positions already. Some are more involved in serve at the national level. So just kind of other things that they're getting more involved in NASPA in other ways. And so I think that's exciting that the majority, some have said that they, have schoolwork or a job commitment. But I think it is exciting the ones that are continuing on in NASPA just in other roles. So that's the other thing that we're working hard on is figuring out who's returning.
Cool. Yes, it is the HR coordinator part of working with the various regional reps. So I appreciate it. Knowing who's here, who's coming out, when they're leaving, when they're coming. Yeah, it's a process, and we'll talk about the appointment process in just a bit. So
I forgot to share because y'all were saying this. I'm like, darn it. So we have SACSA, and while it's not us putting it on, it's kind of a joint effort and whatnot. And so SACSA is right around the corner, and I'm not going to be there. For those of you that didn't hear, I'll be on a cruise ship, so hopefully I'll be sitting poolside or something. But interestingly enough, I actually had one of the KC reps reach out to me and say, hey, is anything going to be going on? If not, I think that they're really wanted to spearhead that. So that was good to hear that even though I can't be there and I don't have a co-coordinator, just joking, then I'm excited that he's willing to kind of step in and maybe help organize something. So and I don't know, this is not really my role, but FYI, we in Region 3, we're actually have created a serve academy, and it's going to be starting here like very soon. So like within the next few weeks or a month, I can't remember, but we're excited about that too.
Yeah, somebody else there's another region that has a serve academy. I can't remember who it is.
It's 4 West.
All right.
Yeah, we're in I think this is our second cohort this year, and then, but I was saying, then there's also the national serve, and I want to say 3 are from 4 West that are on the national serve cohort this upcoming year.
Cool. Yeah, see, it's all about sharing ideas, because sooner or later someone will want to steal it. Good deal. Okay, and I know that regions 5 and 6 are not here unless somebody during the call and I didn't notice. Nope. Okay. Well, we hope all is well out west. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the new KC proposal that's been submitted, and you'll see that information there. Formerly incarcerated persons supported. That's not the full title, I don't think. Oh wait, here's my notes. It's formerly incarcerated students and system impacted families knowledge community. So it would be the FISSIF KC. So the way that process goes is that we have a small group on the board who reviews, and they review new KC proposals, and that's what happened in this case. So that presentation the proposal has been submitted, and I had a chance to meet with the review group this morning, actually. And the review group doesn't, the board will make the determination whether to approve the KC, but the review group is kind of a little bit of a pre-step to make sure that there's been some vetting process of the proposal beforehand. So that's kind of where it stands right now. The biggest things that we're looking at in terms of that new KC proposals are sort of the coherence of the concept. Like, is this a cogent, cohesive set of knowledge that we can support a knowledge community around, where a new KC might again develop and advance and promote new knowledge around a particular area. And so one of the questions that we consider, we certainly want to also consider the broad need, and also trying to be as broad and comprehensive of the full scope of our association in regards to that. Is this a real true national, does it have national scope and breadth? So those are questions that we think about as well. And then what's the viability or vitality of the KC as a whole? So if we're bringing a new KC on board, we want to make sure that it's positioned to be successful. We certainly don't endeavor to bring a new KC on and support it and work with you all to support the new KC as well, and then be putting it into hiatus status a few years down the road. That's just that's not good. That's not what we hope for. So we try to evaluate that as well. So nothing to do on that front, just to make you all aware that that's coming through. If we choose to bring it to the board for action in early December, then, and if the board votes to approve the KC, it will be a KC immediately. It starts at the conference, it's a KC at that point. So I'll certainly let you all know if that's the case, because certainly there would be regional reps associated with the KC that you'd need to be thoughtful about. So any questions for me on that new KC proposal?
Question. I recalled last year with the 2 or 3 that had petitioned, or whatever the appropriate verb is, that they had to have at least brainstorm and maybe identified regional reps. I have a strong recollection of that, because I remember one of them reaching out and saying, hey, we're not a KC yet, but here's who, we've identified within the region to serve in that role. Is that the same here, or is that the process been changed, or did that person?
Yeah, that's a good question. They do have to present a leadership roster. And one of the things and different KCs can go about it in a different way. So some KCs might, solicit information to the regional boards for, just as you described it, Misty, and yes, that's what happened last year for, I believe, off-campus and commuter student services, KC. But they are required, they do in their proposal have to submit a proposed leadership structure. And again, that leadership structure goes into place if we vote to approve it. So I will say that's a consideration. Now, is it a requirement that it's sort of fully fleshed out and absolutely complete 100%? No, it's not a requirement. Certainly that would indicate to the review group if it's not a complete board, what does that mean and how might we interpret and evaluate that? So certainly that's something that we've got to look at. But yes, you're right. That is true.
Matt, do you know if they use the position descriptions that are on the 4 West Volunteer Central that we were supposed to update and make sure they're accurate for our region? Just because every region is so different about their requirements, so that the reps know what they're getting into.
Yeah, that's a good question. They have to create and submit regional rep, or not regional rep positions, but they're creating and submitting position descriptions for all the requisite parts of their leadership. So if they've got a historian, if they have a communications coordinator, so on and so forth, they've got to describe that. I've got a call with them, or I'm scheduling a call with them, so I will make sure to note that and now that we have all of that information, just to make sure that they distribute that. Again, because you're right, all the regions are different, and that's a good thing. But it's important for the regional reps to know that they're different. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. So I've got a call. I'm trying to schedule a call with them tomorrow just to follow up on the review. So I will point that out.
And sorry, I may have missed it. Did you just talk about the incarcerated persons, or did you also talk about transfer services?
So we did not receive a formal proposal from transfer services.
Okay.
That was I know we reported out previously we were in conversation with some folks around transfer services, and it just didn't come to fruition with a formal proposal. Doesn't mean it's not a good idea. Doesn't mean that it won't come around next year. We only consider new KC proposals at one time, and that time is right now. So that group would have to wait if they want to for the next go round, September, October timeframe. So because the board will vote on those new proposals at the winter board meeting in December. So right now we just have the one. And again, the process for that is review. If it is put forward for consideration, then the board would vote on that at the December meeting. If it's not, then it's not, and I'll give feedback to the group making the proposal around improvements that could be made if they want to resubmit for next year.
And really, this information shouldn't be shared. Right?
Thank you.
Not out there, because I just remember last year it was it's for us to kind of know that it's it's being considered.
Yeah, it's situational awareness for you all, just to know that what I don't want to happen is on December 8th to say, hey, there's a new KC, get to work. Start to welcome them. So just so you've got, again, situational awareness that it could be coming around and that they are moving through the process. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Fair enough. Any other questions about this new possible new KC? Okay. Regional KC rep appointment process. So there was an email that went out. Let's see. I'm just trying to pull it up here.
Yeah, it went out on Tuesday.
Yes,
the 2021 Regional KC Representative Appointment Process. If you did not receive an email with all of the updated information, please make sure to let me know after the call so we can forward it to you.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. So So it went out, and there are regional positions that the terms will begin in March. They're, of course, as everybody knows, made jointly with the chairs, co-chairs, and the regional KC co-coordinators for the region. And they are primarily involving regions 1, 3, 4 West, and 6. And then the email, you can certainly look at the leaders who will be involved in the appointment process there, and that's all detailed in the email. The important things to just know about there, and that's in part why we've been asking for any updates to the regional KC representative job description that Amy mentioned. The update, that's why we needed the updates by October 1, because the priority deadline for those positions to be posted by Volunteer Central is October 31st. Again, that's the KC chair's responsibility. The priority closing deadline is January 1, and the priority deadline to select appointees is the 31st of January. And to notify those appointees and those who are not selected, absolutely hard deadline, February 15th. So hopefully we will have a new roster on March 1. So that's just kind of the full array of those processes. One note is that and we mentioned this on the KC leader call last month, that the 2021-22, just as a forecast, that the next cycle will move to a fall 20 timeline. So it will maybe feel next year might feel a little compressed because we're doing the appointments in January, February, and then doing them again in the fall. That's a one-time thing because of the shift, but just noting that is moving to a fall 20 timeline. So mostly, again, that's just for making sure that you are aware that that's happening, and that if it's impacting you, that you are just in touch with those as appropriate, in touch with the KC chairs about what that's looking like.
Matt, you go, Amy.
So if I know all of our positions are up with the regional director who moves on, but if somebody wants to come back, do they have to reapply and go through the whole process just like everybody else, or would they be in communication with their national chair and us, and we'd say no, they're fine, so then their national chair wouldn't post it? Or do they have an obligation to post every single position?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Danny, requirement on that front?
I mean, we can double check, but as far as I know, NASPA is trying to become much more transparent with all the roles. So even if you're interested in coming back, they still want you to post the position. There can be, and sorry for all of the background noise, I'm in a hotel lobby. There can be some communication that says, hey, I do want to come back to this, I do want to work. And that's totally okay, and just figuring out how that works. But I would say they should all be posted for that level of transparency so people are able to see what is actually available.
Okay. Because I'm mainly thinking for like the people who have just recently come on, or like we have, 4 open jobs right now, not jobs, postings like right now, or someone who just started last month and they're like, yes, Amy, I want to come back. I just started. And
yeah, we'll double check that. We'll double check with Monica and make sure. But I can't imagine, and this is me jumping in on this now, that it would be an issue for someone, especially if they just started, to continue on in that role. Part of it is to just let people know what is available. We have had issues in the past where people are like, I don't really know what's available and I don't know how to get involved. And it's really only if you know somebody that you're able to get connected into some of these roles. And so part of what we're doing to avoid that is making sure that we're posting all the information.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well, is that, again, it's out of transparency and making sure that that there's an open process. Now, on the other side, if it's truly not an open process, and someone is the sort of presumptive person in that role, then there might be some concerns on the flip side of what that can look like. So we'll clear it up. Yeah, it's a good question.
I have a question, and I don't know if it's for you or really the other coordinators. So like the email that I got today that said, hey, we have this person we want to interview. They're from Georgia. We have so many people that are representatives from the same state. And I just feel like we're not, like, I hate to say, oh no, you can't, ask them to be in that position, because that may very well be the only person that applied. But I also think we're a large region. We have a lot of differences within all of those, states or whatnot. Yet the representative is from, I'm not saying all of them, but it's heavy in certain states within the region. And I don't know. I struggle with that. And so I didn't know if anybody else, how they maybe have addressed that, if they just let well enough alone and be like, yay, we have someone in that position that wants to be in that position, or I don't know, whatever. I'm just curious how other people are handling it.
Yeah, I have some thoughts, but I'd be happy to listen to other thoughts along those lines.
I'm from 4 West. I don't think, I mean, we have a large region too. Our states are just kind of more spread out. I don't think I've ever like suggested someone not be chosen because of the state they're from. I think on the flip side, we struggle kind of, I think what Jamie was talking about with like getting our Canadian provinces, and then like a few states like Wyoming, and no, we have some, I think Wyoming we struggle with, just so ours is on the flip side. Ours is like, oh man, I wish we had people in states that wanted to join or like be involved. But I don't think I've ever had something like that, Misty. Sorry.
And that's the push and pull, is that if they're the best person or they're the only person. And I sit there and like I pulled up the list, and I mean, between North Carolina and Georgia, I feel like they're taking up half the positions. I guess we have a few from Texas, but we're talking about 31 positions, and I really would say 15 of them are North Carolina and Georgia. And don't ask me how many states we have in our region. I just don't know exactly, but there's more than 2. And I don't know. Just a question to put out there.
Yeah, my perspective on that is not so much like, rather than taking a limiting approach to it and saying like, dude, there's too many, you've reached the Georgia quota, is what can be done to, and again, whether that's if you've got state representatives, if you're working with the KCs, to kind of push information out to networks in specific areas of the region that might not be as well represented. I think that's, think about it from an additive perspective rather than a limiting one, to sort of try and pull in other parts of the region that are, whether that's specific institutions and, states that aren't represented well. Just be thoughtful about that. I think that's a good. So we can also mention that to our KC leaders, just to be thoughtful about that, because they're obviously not thinking about that. It's someone from Region 3. That's their perspective. It's one person. But you all see that on the regional level in a very different way, because you might see Georgia, South Dakota, so on and so forth. So that's the KC leaders are not seeing that. So they may not. We certainly wouldn't ask them to, I don't think. But I think it's for the region, for y'all. I think it's just about how to increase awareness in parts of the region that are not as actively involved, perhaps.
For Region 4 East, we've struggled just as a regional to have the state representatives. And I feel like that, getting those on board could be part of that solution to get the word out and have them represent the state. Some of the areas that I think it's critical for is anything that has policy that might be state-related policy on, you know, certain KCs where that's important to have that representation. I think could be really critical in a region. So I think it's a great question and a challenge of how you create that equity and representation.
Yeah, it's worth noting. I think I think really it's worth discussion at the regional level. I think to make sure to how to sort of broaden the spread of involvement across the region. And it's tough. Again, you know, a state representative or someone to sort of take the lead on that level, if that's the way that you choose to organize, that can come and go. I point out that it's probably just it's not a perspective that the KC chairs are going to have, because they're really just looking at their KC. They won't be looking at the regional reps necessarily. So it's a good point, Misty, and something certainly for further discussion. All right, so that's that on the appointment process. Wanted to move on into, this is the part of the agenda where I will poke and prod for people to assist. So that's just a fair warning and an inoculation about that. So NASMA annual conference. So a couple of different things, and you'll see this on your agenda with big bold text to say my ask here. So we've got the newly elected KC leader orientation. This takes place on Saturday before the conference starts. And what we certainly, I think we really value, and I've gained a lot of important information from having KC co-coordinators be a part of that process, that training process. Misty, I know you did this last year, and she can talk about how wonderful it is. So what I need is 1 to 2 people who are willing to attend and assist with that training. You may speak now, or you may, I will follow up with an email and you can tell me at that point. Hearing no one. The other piece is that, and again, I know you've got to look at your calendars and consider when, make sure you register and get your hotel and all that good stuff. I had many people jumping on that train this week. The All KC leader meeting is also on that Saturday. So we take 8 to 3 and really do new KC training on that Saturday before the conference starts. And then at 4 o'clock, we bring all the KC leaders together. And that includes you, all the regional reps, all the KC leaders for that piece. Sorry, not the regional reps. But it's an all KC leader meeting on that Saturday from 4 to 5:30, and everybody should be there for that if you're at the conference.
Matt, would that be incoming KC leaders as well? Or so like my term is up, but then we do have some interest in some people who might be interested in my position. And so if that person or that person was at the national conference, would they go to that?
And their appointment just hasn't, I don't know what your appointment process looks like, but it may not have come to be finalized yet.
Oh, you don't know. Okay.
Is that no? It's a question. Yeah. Would they not know if they're in the role yet, or they're just...
No, they would know because the conference is when my term ends and theirs begins.
Yeah.
So they would know by then.
Yeah. Bring everybody.
Okay.
Is what I would say. I mean, especially for transition, and Danny might correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's important to have folks there, especially if there's a transition point and somebody's coming in. It's important for them to sort of be oriented and know what that looks like. I might not suggest that they're the 1 or 2 who are assisting with new KC leader orientation earlier in the day, but certainly for that, yeah.
Okay.
Good question. And that means we're going to lose you. Oh no.
I have a PhD to finish.
Okay.
Just gotta wrap it up.
Yep. Put a bow on that.
I know. I'm like proposing this semester, and I'm like, I need to get it done next year.
Yeah. Okay. We fully support that.
I feel your pain. Feel
I
your
was about to say, I wasn't going to say anything, Misty, but you. So we will. Apparently, this is like also a support group for those in pursuit of their doctorate, which is a little known benefit.
I'm sorry, I've got to step away just for a moment. I've got an emergency. I'll be right back.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. So the regional KC coordinator meeting is on the 30th from 9 to 10. That's that Monday. Everybody should be there for that as well. So that is, I put this out there and we just picked a time, and we've met pretty regularly in my term as a regional KC code coordinator to gather as a group to discuss things of interest for us. And previously it's been at some ungodly hour in the morning. And so at least it's starting at 9, which is a little bit more palatable. So that is just for us to gather. If there is not a need for that, please let me know and we will free that up from the schedule. But I thought I put this out to the group and nobody protested. So, okay, moving on. This next one is super important because this, I will essentially argue this is your meeting, this next one. This is for KC regional rep training. And so that's the 30th, right after we gather. So on Monday from 10 to noon, we need a few folks to lead that training. So again, this is the new KC reps, regional reps who are coming into their world. Not just new ones, but anybody, returning folks can attend that training as well. So that's really important to note that piece. Again, I will follow with an email, but this is my kindest way of asking. I really need some people to step up. So, and I know lots of you have stepped up in the past, and I really appreciate it. So again, Misty ably performed in assisting with Saturday's new KC leader training last year. And so just an opportunity to step up in that regard. The last piece is just in part an awareness piece, but also just to sort of promote and notice some changes. So because of a variety of things in the conference schedule, the enormity of which I cannot even begin to fathom. So I'm glad I'm not planning that anytime soon, is the Graduate Prep and Communities Fair has been moved to Tuesday, sort of midday. And my understanding is that, there's no concurrent sessions that are up against that. So I don't know that, I think that some things have been moved around, so there's not much competing with it. But just note, that's usually a Monday evening event, excuse me, for the KCs and the communities at large. But please just note that it's midday now. So again, what we would really appreciate at the regional level is some heavy promotion of that. So any questions about those items? I just ask you please to consider whether you can assist with those. I would greatly appreciate it. Some of you might be rolling and sort of thinking about, do I want to step up? The answer really is yes. Of course you do. So if you're having that sort of self-talk right now, pay attention to that little guy on the shoulder that you do want to help out, whether it's the regional rep or the new KC leader training. So just important dates for you to know. And as I said, the registration's open, the housing sort of portal for conference hotels and stuff like that is open. So if where you stay is important to you, get on that. So the only other things on the calendar, I know we're coming up on time here, is just our calls for 1920. So you'll see we've got a call mid-December and then mid-February. And then you'll see the KC leadership calls are usually once a month. You'll notice that we don't have a November call. So we've got a call coming up in a couple weeks. And Kevin Kruger is going to join us for that call and present some things to the KC leaders. And then you see the other calls from December to February also noted. So Stephanie King, her family is one person larger. So that's good news from Stephanie. Madden Roberts King has entered the world. And Stephanie will be out until December, January. So, but super excited for her.
Yay!
Yeah. So, and I think they will. The family will be present in Austin. So that'll be fun. Anything else?
I just wanted to add a quick note. We actually had a shift, and I'll include the notes out to everybody. The grad prep and community fair has actually been split into 2 events.
Oh, that's right.
So this year we're gonna have a graduate prep fair that's gonna be Sunday afternoon, and it'll be connected to our undergraduate student conference. And then we're gonna have the communities fair that I believe is on Monday afternoon. I'll have all of those exact dates and stuff updated, and we'll send it out with the notes and the call, the recording. But that this year, very recently, there was a change where we split those into 2 separate events.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I totally forgot about that. Good deal. Anything else for the good of the order, folks? All right. Stay strong out there.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great day.
Bye.
Everything's okay on your campus, Jamie.
Dale, thank you.
Take care.